Hey everyone, it's Zach with BTC Forestry. Back on another video. I told you guys I was going to try to crank out some more content here in a couple, or I guess in the last video that I did. Just trying to keep things rolling along. Like I'd mentioned before, we had a little bit of downtime with some snow that recently moved through the area. So trying to get caught up on some of the things that I'm not able to do while we're, of course, running the equipment, working out bidding jobs and whatnot. If you notice, actually in the background behind me here, the snow, if you're looking along the side of the road, the snow is actually now gone. We've had the last few days have been in the close to, well, like mid 50s or around 50, and then we had like a quarter of an inch of rain today, actually this morning, and that's pretty much wrapped up the 8 or 9 inches of snow that we had here in southern Wisconsin. So I am actually on my way right now to go look at 2 jobs that we had to postpone just due to all the snow that we had gotten. So with all that being gone now, we're making the trip up to go look at these. It's going to be about just shy of an hour, 50-minute drive to get up there from my house. So So I wanted to jump on. There's another video that I've been meaning to put out just because when I was getting into this business, I was searching for videos like the one I'm about to explain to you guys, which is in relation to pricing for forestry mulching and land clearing specifically. So there are videos out there that do, I guess, somewhat of a decent job for people talking about how they quote, how they come to the prices that they charge, whether that be an hourly rate, time and materials, or charging by the job, or however they do it. There are quite a few videos out there that explain that for machinery operation, whether it be excavating, dirt work, concrete, just equipment operation in general. And of course, there are some too that are in relation to forestry mulching specifically. But I just feel like the ones that I've come across, they just don't do a very good job of really kind of putting a number out there, so to speak, or creating like a real world example with either a real job or just creating a scenario of a would-be real job, a real world scenario job for forestry mulching and or land clearing. And so that's what I'm going to try to lay out for you guys now. I feel that I've got enough time in the trenches and enough experience. I feel like we've done enough jobs. Anyway, I guess my point is I feel like I've got enough understanding, enough real world experience now to be able to confidently explain the way that we do it, and some things that I think work well, along with some things that I contemplate changing, but yet we're not quite to the point where I feel like we should change it yet. So I guess let's just start with forestry mulching, and then we'll go to land clearing, because land clearing gets to be a little bit more difficult just because there's more to it than just running, my compact track loader with my forestry mulcher. When we do forestry mulching jobs, of course, that's all we're running. We're just running one machine, unless it's a real big job. If we need to bring in a second machine, then, we can do that. But for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to talk about running a standard forestry mulching job with one machine, one operator, no handwork or anything like that. At least not probably in this video. So actually, there goes a track loader with a Fecon on it right there. So sorry, squirrel. Anytime I pass a piece of equipment going down the road, it instantly catches my attention. And if it's got a forestry head on it, it catches my attention even more. So you witnessed that firsthand. But anyway, there are a few different ways to do this. Of course, you can bid by the job, where it's like, hey, we need to go up to this job, look at it, or collect as many pictures and video as we can from the customer if you feel that if it's too far away to go look at, or you just don't want to go look at it. There's some nuance to that too, and what I think is the better option for quoting jobs, actually going and looking at them in person versus just providing an estimate over the phone, or email or text. But so you can quote it that way. There are guys that do that, and we've done that too. Or you can have a standard hourly rate of operation. And then, of course, you should always be including, travel costs into any of these examples, travel or equipment mobilization, whatever you want to call it, as a separate cost. And for that, you're going to have to kind of come up with on your own, because that can be very dependent on what size is your trailer. What truck do you have? Do you have an F-250 gasser or Power Stroke, or do you have a Ram 5500 flatbed like we do? So there's a difference, of course, in fuel economy and maintenance costs to be able to run those vehicles. And so that will and then fuel costs are, for the most part, diesel fuel is what it is. But of course, when we had our F-250, which was a little undersized for our operation, but when we had our F-250, we would get 15.6 to maybe 16 miles per gallon roughly while towing with that truck. At least that's what the truck would tell you. And with the Ram 5500 flatbed, our chassis cab that we have, we get like 10 miles per gallon while towing. So anyway, my point there is that your travel cost is going to be probably very specific to your equipment, your truck. Sorry guys, camera fell a little bit there. Your truck, your trailer, your machine, what fuel costs are in your area, and what maintenance costs are going to be on that vehicle. Do you own it outright? Do you have a payment on it? Etc. Things like that. So just note, I'm not going to say, we charge $125 an hour for travel or equipment mobilization. Just for me, that's what we charge, and customers don't really seem to dispute that or have an issue with it. So that's how we're going to run for now. So I'll tell you that just for the sake of example, but again, you're going to have to figure the math out on your own for that. But for mulching, the best way to probably, if you're just getting into this, the best way to probably come up with an answer for how to charge would be to first try your best to have an understanding of what your competitors are charging. And I realize that might be somewhat difficult to do, because you're probably not going to be able to just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, my name's Josh, and I'm starting a forestry service business in your area, and we want to be competitively priced. What do you guys charge? Now, that might work, because I will tell you that what guys in your area that are already doing this successfully are not going to want you to do is to come in and trash the market by charging an extremely low price that maybe you didn't intentionally do. Maybe you just, did it out of ignorance, just because you weren't really familiar with how much you should be charging when running this type of equipment. Or maybe you were familiar with it and you just thought that you could make it work by undercutting everyone else. And I'll tell you that that's not going to work. The equipment is too expensive. The impact on the equipment from mulching is just too high. Your maintenance costs, if you're not charging enough money, you're not going to make it. So I will tell you that would be a reason why maybe your competitors would share with you the information or the way that they charge, because they would not want you to come in and charge less money and undercut them and essentially trash the market, basically, for lack of a better term. So it is possible. I think that it is a good idea to reach out to other people, other guys doing this in your area, to at least let them know that, hey, you're going to be coming onto the scene. And of course, if they're willing to share that information with you, take it. They're already doing this successfully. You're new and you're trying to make it for yourself. So of course, the best way to learn is to learn from people who are already doing things well and successful at it, regardless of what that is. So you can try, but there may be some people who are just not willing to share that information with you. I suppose kind of maybe a lesser appropriate way to go about it would be to, I suppose you could always secret shop those people and, call them with a scenario that's fake and find out what they charge that way. That is possible. That is a tactic in sales, of course, across, the world. But anyway, whatever you've got to do, it's good to have an understanding, whether you're talking to maybe friends of yours or family that have had this work done from those companies, or depends on what your network is like, I suppose. But that would be one way to find out what other people charge. But anyways, back to my original point, that's where I would start, is just have an understanding of what your competitors are charging, because you, of course, are going to need to be at least in the ballpark. You certainly don't want to be more than them coming in, being new at the game. And I suppose maybe you could be, a little less than them just because you're trying to make a name for yourself and you're trying to get some business. And, unless you're already a pro at running forestry equipment and you're just new to business, then, as an operator, it would charging, the premium, the going rate in your area would probably be warranted. But again, the going rate in your area is the going rate for a reason, and that's because, those individuals feel like that is the amount that needs to be charged in order for them to be afford the equipment, pay for the maintenance on the equipment, employees if they have them, and still make money and be profitable. So in my area, which is south central Wisconsin, my area, the average or the going rate for forestry mulching is about $250 an hour, if you're looking at this from an hourly rate perspective. That, I am told, is slightly below what would be considered the national average as an hourly rate for forestry mulching. Nonetheless, I have been able to confirm this with multiple companies in my area. $250 an hour is about what most guys are charging to run a forestry mulcher. Now, the other way to quote this, if we get away from hourly, is to quote by the job or per day or per acre. But if you take the basic information, if you've done any homework at all on running forestry mulchers in real world scenarios, you understand that most companies will tell you with a 100 horse machine, high flow, and a quality forestry mulcher, there's several brands out there on the market that are good, you're probably going to be able to process about 1 acre per day. Is kind of going to be the ballpark that most companies will tell you, and that you're probably going to end up telling your customers that you can process. Now, of course, that depends on the terrain, that depends on the debris, if there are rocks or fence lines or posts or anything that needs to be worked around, or if you get material larger than, I would say, 6 inches in diameter, that's kind of that tipping point where your production really starts to slow down. When I say 1 acre per day, you're looking at typically material up to 6 inches in diameter to be able to say that you're going to process efficiently about 1 acre per day. When you get into doing underbrush and, blackberry and briars and things like that that are real thin and spindly, or maybe 1 inch or less, I would say you could probably do maybe closer to 1.5 acres a day as an experienced operator with a mulcher and a high flow machine, 100 horse at least. And in my area, to go back to numbers, guys processing about 1 acre per day, which is what we tell people as well. the going rate tends to be around $1,800 per day for the forestry mulcher. That does not include travel costs. So $1,800 per day, which typically we're going to say that it's an 8-hour day. Now, if you do the math on that, of course, an 8-hour day at $1,800 is less than $250 an hour. If we're going to stick to the hourly rate, then $250 an hour on an 8-hour day on the machine would be $2,000. So I'll say again, there's a little nuance. I'm going to say $1,800 to $2,000 a day to run the mulcher in my area is about where we're at, and that is what we charge. Right now, I think we're probably running most jobs at that $1,800 per day mark, plus travel cost, up to 6 inches in diameter. And that seems to be working pretty well for us right now. I don't feel any reason at the moment to change our costs or raise our costs or lower our costs. We're right there with everyone else. I don't feel like we're being outbid by anyone. So that, of course, is another way to quote would be per day or per acre. Again, sticking to that 1 acre per day rule, so $1,800 per day / $1,800 per acre. It works out to be about the same thing. And honestly, you'll find that even if you break it down to the hourly cost, like I just explained, it all works out to be about the same thing. Because if we charge $2,000 per day, which on average is about 1 acre of processing, and we do the math divided by 8 hours, that's $250 an hour. So it all works out to be the same thing. So when I have people ask me, how do you charge? I'm like, do you charge by the hour? How much do you charge per hour? And I'm like, well, we usually charge by the job, but it all works out to be like I just explained to you guys, and most people understand that. So that would be a real world scenario forestry mulching job. So just to put it, just to give you, a larger scale real world example, if somebody were to come to me and they said, hey, Zach, I've got 5 acres on one square or rectangular chunk, whatever it may be, like not split up into an acre here and an acre over there and an acre over here, but like one 5-acre chunk that I need buckthorn removal, invasive species buckthorn removal on. And the buckthorn is, in that 3 to 6 inch diameter range. The ground is flat, a perfect mulching scenario, right? The ground is flat, access is good, it's not wet. There are no to little, no rocks to maybe few rocks on the property, and we can pretty much just roll through and process it with our mulcher. I would say, all right, well, you've got 5 acres. We're probably going to be $1,800 to $2,000 per day. We can probably get through about 1 acre per day, and so we're going to be in that $9,000 to $10,000 price range for a 5-acre chunk like that, plus the cost of travel. Around here, my average trip is probably 45 minutes to an hour right now. So we're charging, for an hour each way, roughly an additional $250 for travel. So, $10,250 or whatever is probably where we're going to land. So that would be a real world scenario for mulching in my area. If we shrink that scale down, we kind of already covered that, but we're at, 1 acre, flat, no rocks, no debris, no fence lines or anything like that. Well, we're going to tell you one day, we're going to be between $1,800 and $2,000 for that day, plus the cost of travel. So, real simple, but these are just examples in my area, and I've kind of had a hard time finding information just laid out on the table like that, and I don't know if it's because people don't want to share their pricing or whatever. I don't know. I don't personally care. I just want to help you guys find the information that you need if you're trying to start a company like this. And I'm trying to, do videos based upon information that I would have found helpful had I been able to find it when I was trying to start this company. So now we're getting a little long-winded here. I don't know. I think I'm at 20 minutes. I guess that's not terrible. I'll tell you what I do need to do, though. First, I need to punch this place into my GPS before, because I'm at a point where from here, I don't really know where I'm going. So let me just punch it up here. 14 minutes away. Wow, that's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. But either that or I've just been talking that long. So the next topic I wanted to get on was land clearing pricing. And land clearing pricing is, let me give you an example of land clearing where it's like somebody has 1 acre, just for simplicity, and they want a complete clear of that acre. And it could be for a home build, a pole barn. We've done both. It could be for, they're converting, wooded recreational land to agriculture for a cornfield or a soybean field or just some sort of ag field. There are many scenarios why somebody might want to clear 1 acre of ground, but 1 full acre with a complete clear, there are a couple of different scenarios that can take place there, and there are multiple different ways to efficiently clear 1 full acre of ground, which is why this gets to be a little nuanced and can be a little bit difficult to come up with how best to charge for this to make sure that the customer is getting what they want at an affordable price, and you're making money and profiting for your work. And because clearing 1 acre of land, depending on how you do it, it is a lot of work. So, for example, if somebody had, 1 acre and it ended up being, there's a bunch of underbrush, like we've got, in most scenarios, you've got a fair amount of mature hardwoods. Jeez Louise, phone off the hook. A fair amount of mature hardwoods, and and then sprinkled into all of that, maybe some junk trees, some box elders, some mulberries, some buckthorn, some honeysuckle, some autumn olive, some smaller, less mature stuff that is a little bit easier to mulch. So I might opt to roll through it with my forestry mulcher first, take out all the underbrush, everything except all the mature trees, basically everything up to 6 inches that I can strictly use the mulcher for, kind of create that state park appearance and give us some room to work and really see what's there. So that can be step number 1. Step number 2 is it's like, okay, now we need to take out all the mature timber. And on a full acre, you, of course, for home build sites and like pole barns and stuff, sometimes we do this because it's a smaller area. Nobody's clearing an entire acre just for the footprint of a house and a yard, for the most part. Some people do. We haven't done anything quite like that yet. It's just, hey, I need this 60 by 80 area cleared for my barn or for my home or whatever. In that case, because it's a smaller area, we would opt to maybe fell those trees by hand, and then we give the customer options from there, where it's like, what would you like us to do with the debris after it's down? Do you want it removed from the property? Do you want us to, section it up into manageable sections and create a brush pile? Do you want us to bring in, a 12-inch wood chipper and chip everything that we can, and whatever, we can't chip, we section the logs up and pile them up, on the property? That's, of course, the less expensive way for the customer to do it, is to leave the material on the property versus having us remove it from the property, because now that requires logistics of bringing in, dump truck or a dump trailer or multiple trucks to remove debris, and then we have to dispose of that debris as well. So that really drives up the cost for customers, and So far, truthfully, every customer that I've dealt with on a land clearing job is like, nope, we'll find a spot for the debris. So to keep the cost low and of course convenience easier for us. But that's a real common scenario on a smaller clear. But if we had to do a full acre or more, the most efficient way to do it ends up being bringing in a large excavator or track hoe. Something like a 30 or a 35,000 pound cat excavator. Now, we don't own one of those. We will, for the scenarios in which we need one, we will rent one and we'll have it dropped off at the site, and we will charge for operation of that machine for the day, and of course pass the rental cost on to the customer with a profit margin for the rental. And that will be the most efficient way for us to clear large trees on large acreage of 1 acre or more. If we do it the other way, if we mulch everything first, 1 acre, we're going to charge $2,000 just right straight up to mulch through 1 acre of land. Immediately, we're $2,000 in, plus travel. And then we go back and we fell trees from there by hand. And, then we come behind with our grapple. Maybe we chip what we can, or we don't chip anything. We just pile everything up into one massive 1 or 2 burn piles. We're doing a lot of handwork, and I'm not doing that by myself. So I'm paying guys to come in and run saws and help me do that. And so by the time all the logistics of that are done, and then I have still quoted the job for enough money for me to make a profit, it ends up being about a wash for how much it costs to rent an excavator of that size, have it dropped off at the property and picked up, so delivery and pickup, and then also charging for the cost of the fuel to run that piece of equipment for the day, and a profit margin. What you figure that out for yourself, whether it's 10, 15, 20%, how much the company needs to make on top of the rental cost. And then, of course, how much you are going to charge the customer for you to operate that machine for the day. Now, it's not going to be $250 an hour for you to run that machine for the day because you don't own that machine. It's a rental. The rental cost is already being passed on to the customer. Whereas on my skid steer, I own that equipment. That's my equipment. The mulcher is mine. The skid steer is mine. So I'm paying in the $250 an hour price, hourly price that we give people. That's including my time. That's including maintenance on those items. That's including wear and tear on them. That's including the payment to own it, of course, and then also factoring in a profit margin, and then also factoring in how much it's going to cost to replace that machine and that mulcher later on down the line when we decide to trade up or we need a new machine. So you renting this piece of equipment are just going to charge an hourly rate strictly for operation, and then you're going to add that to the cost of the rental. Now, for me, on an excavator that size in my area, with delivery, it's going to be about $1,500 for 1 day. And I can probably get through about 1 acre roughly in a day with a machine of that size. And then we're going to probably have, $70 to $100 in fuel, maybe 30 to 40 gallons in fuel that will go through during that time running that machine for the day. And then I am going to charge about, and it's kind of, this is where it gets nuanced because I'm still not totally sure where I want to settle out in terms of how much I'm going to charge the customer to run that machine for the day, but it's probably going to be somewhere between $100 and $125 an hour for me to operate that machine for the customer for the day, on top of the rental cost, the profit margin, and the fuel costs. But after we add all that together for 1 acre of complete clear, right? Complete clear, we're taking everything. We're taking the stumps, we're taking, the whole tree, all the underbrush, everything. For me to rent that machine for a day, delivered and picked up with my profit margin factored in, and the cost of travel and my hourly rate of operation for that 30 to 40,000 pound excavator, we're probably going to be in somewhere in the nature of like $6,000 to $7,000. That might be, I might be a little bit high on that, but I'm driving right now. I'm not going to break down and do the math. I just am thinking of some real world examples of some jobs that we've done in the past where that's the way that we've quoted it. Customers accepted it. They didn't have any problem with the cost. And we haven't essentially lost any jobs because of our price being too high with the scenario that I just explained. So anyway, I know we're getting long-winded here, as my videos usually do, but it's just, I need to be in order to be informative. So that's just to get the information out there. And I don't like to do highly edited videos. I like to just hit record and talk. And it just ends up being long. So hopefully you guys find this interesting. Hopefully you find it helpful. I don't want to get too much longer. We're at about a half hour in right now. So feel free to comment if you feel like you want to know more about these numbers or how I get to these numbers. I could do a separate video where I'm actually sitting, next to a dry erase board or, a pen and pad or something like that, and really break down how I would charge for these jobs so you can actually physically see it on paper. But I just thought, I'm about 8 minutes out from my first quote here for the afternoon. I thought it would be a good chance to jump on and just explain a couple of different pricing scenarios in forestry mulching and land clearing with real world numbers, numbers that we are actually charging and getting for these jobs. That way that it's, again, a real world scenario and not just an example on some video someplace, so by somebody not even, contracting work. I don't know. So, but anyway, I'm going to cut it here. And again, please guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helps you, and please like and subscribe. I know my YouTube channel is pretty young, but I want to take you guys along on the journey with me for starting this business and watching it grow as well. And just purely for the sake of being able to help people understand what to do, what not to do, learn from my mistakes that I have previously made, and probably learn from the mistakes that I will continue to make. That's just business. And but that's the information that the information that I'm going to try to bring to you guys is the information that, again, I wish that I would have had access to when I started. And maybe I just didn't dive deep enough on YouTube. I mean, the rabbit hole is endless, but nonetheless, I didn't come across that information. And so hopefully as my channel continues to grow, the algorithm will kind of pick up a little bit, and this information will be put in front of the people who need to hear it. So please comment if you have any videos of anything pertaining to the Forestry Service and mulching business, land clearing business that you would like to see, whether it's my equipment, what else I'm running, job examples. I know that we're going to try to get more footage of actual jobs. And just to give you guys, I mean, there's a lot of footage out there of people doing forestry mulching, but it's fun to watch regardless of how many of them exist. Everybody's got different equipment. Everybody's got a different setup. And I don't know, it's interesting to me. I mean, I watch it every other day probably, and I do this for a living. So if it's interesting to me, it's probably interesting to other people as well. So we will try to do a better job of creating content of actually being on the job. My social media does have a lot of the jobs, that pretty much every job, well, maybe not every job, but most of the jobs that we have done on our Facebook and Instagram page, Beyond the Clear. So you can check that stuff out there and take a look at some of the before and after pictures, some of the videos that we've done, short snippets and stuff of actually being, again, on the job. But we're going to try to do some videos of like an entire job, land clearing, forestry mulching, drone footage, all of that. I would like to start getting into that stuff here in 2025. So anyways, I'm done now, guys. You guys take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.